CNN, a cruise ship held off the coast of California after people aboard tested positive for coronavirus will continue disembarking passengers in Oakland on Tuesday, as fears about the fast-moving virus rippled through the nation's capital, Wall Street and universities across the country.
At least 732 cases of coronavirus have been reported in the U.S., including 21 on the Grand Princess cruise ship.
The ship began to disembark passengers at the port of Oakland Monday after spending days in limbo off the coast of California. More passengers will be removed from the vessel Tuesday morning, beginning at 8 a.m. local time, according to an announcement from the ship's captain John Harry Smith.
Follow live updates.
The ship's operator, Princess Cruise Line, said in a statement that disembarking passengers would be a multiple-day process.
The effort is underway as the number of confirmed coronavirus cases in the U.S. has skyrocketed. Monday brought at least 150 new cases and new anxiety to many corners of the country.
Global markets were up Tuesday morning, a day after the Dow had its worst day since the 2008 financial crisis. Pearl Jam postponed the North American leg of its tour.
Schools including The Ohio State University, the University of California, Berkeley and Amherst College are temporarily closing classrooms on campus in favor of online instruction.
And 6 U.S. lawmakers are self-quarantining or isolating themselves after coming into contact with an infected person, though House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Monday that the Capitol should not shut down over the virus.
Canadian passengers are disembarked from the Grand Princess cruise ship at the port of Oakland in California.
Cruises in limbo.
The outbreak has dealt a blow to the cruise industry, with the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the State Department both warning against cruise travel, especially for people with underlying health issues, and 2 vessels prohibited from entering port over concerns about the virus.
The Grand Princess, carrying more than 3,500 passengers and crew members, was finally allowed to dock at the port of Oakland Monday after being held at sea for several days. The vessel had been in limbo after officials announced that a passenger who had previously sailed on the ship had died of the virus.
Passengers leaving the ship will undergo medical screening while at the port by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, according to a statement from Travis Air Force Base.
Those showing symptoms and those in need of medical support will be the first off the vessel, ship Captain John Harry Smith said. Asymptomatic passengers will be taken to military installations in California, Georgia or Texas for screening and a 14-day quarantine.
In Florida, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued a no-sail order to another Princess Cruise Line ship, the Caribbean Princess, after learning 2 crew members had transferred from another vessel where at least one guest tested positive for the virus. Neither crew member appears symptomatic and they are both remaining in their cabins out of an abundance of caution, Princess Cruises said in a statement.
The Caribbean Princess will make a brief stop at Grand Cayman for test kits and then set sail for Florida. The ship is expected to remain anchored off the coast of Florida until the no-sail order is lifted by the CDC, the statement said. 180 cases in Washington state.
At least 26 people have died from the virus in the United States, 22 in Washington state, 2 in Florida and 2 in California.
A nursing home in a Seattle suburb has become the epicenter of the U.S. outbreak. 19 people with ties to the Life Care Center of Kirkland have died. Dozens of residents have been transferred to hospitals, leaving 55 residents at the facility that housed 120 in mid-February.
3 deaths were announced Monday, a woman in her 70s, a woman in her 80s, and a woman in her 90s. They died at area hospitals.
Many of the nation's coronavirus cases have been in Washington, where at least 180 people have been infected.
There are also more than 100 cases in New York, where officials announced 16 new cases Sunday. Officials have urged more than 2,500 people to self-quarantine, and Gov. Andrew Cuomo declared a state of emergency Saturday.
Self-quarantine is reserved for people who may have come into contact with someone who was infected. People in self-quarantine are asked to remain at home until it can be determined that they are not ill. Health officials can issue orders to make those quarantines mandatory and make violating them illegal.
Just watched. Here's how Americans feel about the coronavirus. Replay more videos. Must watch. Here's how Americans feel about the coronavirus. 305.
Guidance for every American and every community.
Early data suggests older people are twice as likely to have serious illness from the novel coronavirus, according to the CDC, which advises older people and those with severe chronic medical conditions to stay home as much as possible.
But preventing the continued spread of the virus will depend large part on community action, officials said Monday at a White House coronavirus briefing.
Officials urged people to stay home from work if they are a family member or sick, use video conferencing for meetings and stop handshaking. At schools, faculty, staff and students are advised to disinfect doorknobs, limit food sharing and strengthen health screenings for cafeteria staff.
And at home, Americans should clean their hands at the door, provide a protected space for vulnerable household members and clean utensils regularly, according to the tips tweeted by Vice President Mike Pence.